Hello, welcome everyone. Once again, it is April 21st, and today we're going to go over the integration tests for the offline environment. And Tanya, please take it away.
Thanks, Ed. So I'm sorry if I'm looking down to the bottom. That's where my Zoom screen is. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. You should be seeing my whole desktop. Please let me know if you're not. So to start with, I'd like to show the scorecard. So quality is addressing two sort of disparate things as part of these demos. So the first thing will be running the GitLab QA regression test suite. I'm not covering that here. We'll cover that in a future demo. What I'm covering is integration tests, so these final 4 steps in the scorecard. Any questions, or should I just get started? Cool. Okay, so going over to the scorecard. So step 1, prove air gap. And I know we've done that with other demos in the past, but we haven't yet done it here. So I'd like to start here. So I'm in group secure, going to compute and searching for air gap. So here are VMs that we have. I'm going to SSH into the air gap test, which is the one that we're using here. You can see the external IP. And let's see if I can actually type this correctly the first time while being recorded. Nope. There we go. So I'm going to show that it is air gapped by doing this command here, which is step 1 for 2. Timed out, could do the same thing for 80. Timed out, same thing for port 22. And same thing for port 5000. So there's no access to the outside internet here. And I want to show my host file to show this URL or this IP address is the same as over here. And I have it mapped to this to easily access. So I'm going to pause there to grade the scorecard. Any concerns on proving air gap there?
No concerns on my side.
No, you're good.
Okay. Mike, did you say you were taking notes here, or should I put the 5 in?
I can help.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Great. So I'm going to leave the scorecard, go back. So we're ready for step 2, which is also pretty short. So I am here. I'm going to set up a new group. I'm going to call it integration test 0421, make it public. So within this group, what I intend to do during this demo is set up 2 different projects. First, I'll set up Python pip, and it'll have all 5 scanners configured. So we'll see all 5 of those scanners in one project integrated, showing up in the dashboards together. Then next, I'll create a project for Java Maven. I was only able to get 3 of the scanners working there before I ran out of time. Sass and DAS are not yet working, but the other 3 scanners are working, so I'll be able to show those integrated. And then at a group level, we'll be able to see across 2 projects with multiple overlapping scanners. All of them are showing up in the group dashboard correctly. So I'm going to pause here. This step was really short. This is step 2, just creating the group. Any concerns with this step?
So I guess other than we weren't able to get all of the scanners in, but beyond that, I don't have any issue.
And there's a section for Java Maven where we could note that 2 of the scanners are not yet set up.
Just a quick question. We're doing 39, 40, 41, 42, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Sure, this is pretty short. I think let's go ahead and see what the Python and Java stack looks like. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. And before I get started setting those up, what I would like to show is that a lot of the things that we're relying on are already in this environment. So here in the analyzers, we already have secrets, for example, which is used for Sass. We'll also use Bandit for Sass. We have Gymnasium Maven, which will be used, Claire DB, which will be used. There are already imported here. So the assumption is that in whatever environment, these would have already been loaded in, side loaded in, however it is that that company's security policies require. But all of these are already here. Additionally, there are some utilities that are included that we'll be using. So the DVWA, which is the Darn Vulnerable Web App, we'll be using for DAS and container scanning and Python pip. WebGoat will be using for container scanning in Java Maven, and Docker will be used for container scanning as well. So just wanted to show that all of those were already here. So to go back, and we'll set up, we'll go from a template that has already been brought in for Python pip. We will fork it into the new group that we just made, integration test 421. So in case anyone is following along on the left, I'm at step 3, number 1. Go down and remove the fork relationship before we go any further. Excellent. Okay, so before I set anything up, I wanted to show that the security dashboard is empty. Nothing has been configured. Everything here shows not yet configured. Nothing in license compliance. Nothing here. This whole page is empty.
And just to be clear, the fork is just a convenience thing. You could have easily created a template for the Python pip and then just created a new project from that template as well, right?
Yeah, that is the template. That was the same test project that has existed.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry, I wasn't clear on that.
No, I just for the audience, I think that might be a question that might pop into their heads. I just wanted to clarify. Thanks.
Yeah. And so to show this project, this template that we forked from does not yet have a GitLab CI file. So we'll create that. And I'm in step 3, number 3 on the left side here. So I'll create a new file, GitLab CI.yaml. Awesome. So I'm going to first just pull in the check air gap job. This is the same job that's been used across multiple demos. Let me know if I need to go into detail here. Just grab that from a snippet off screen. And now let's get started. So first I'm going to set up dependency scanning from the documentation. So to configure, I'll need this template. Awesome. Let's scroll down to the rest of the instructions we'll need. So setting up here for offline use, I'll need these 2 variables. So I'll go ahead and copy those in, starting the variable section. There are some specific settings I'll need. So I'll need this gymnasium remote URL here. So I'll grab that while I'm here. And then keep scrolling. So for Python pip projects, I'll need to add this snippet as well. So this snippet does not have anything particular to our installation. I do need to update this Docker registry example here. So for ours, we're using a variable. So I can just put in here CI registry. So that's good. I will need to also update this. So for ours, sorry, I'm copying from off screen. For our particular instance, I'll need to use this. This is the instance analyzer, gymnasiumdb.get. And we should be good to go here for dependency scanning. So I'll close that. And next up is, bless you, next up is license compliance. So for here, I'll need to first grab the template, copy that in. So here for custom root certificates for Python, we will need this so that we can designate a specific pip index URL here. So I will copy in this job. Let me add some spaces here so we can see what I can see what we're working with. And then I'll need for offline environment, let's just click on the side here. So then I need to include an image name. So I'll copy this as well. And again, I need to update some of these locations. So for us, we can just update this to CI registry, similar to what we did before, and add a quotes at the end as well. And then the pip index URL that we're using, I'm going to grab this from my snippet on the side. Our particular instance, this is the location. I don't need to make any changes to the before script. And that should be it for license compliance. Moving on to Sass is next. Open up the documentation. So the first thing I need is the template. And next, let's see, in an offline environment, I'll need these two variables. So I'll copy those in. And again, I'll need to update this. So I can just copy this from here. And that should be it for SAST. Next up, we have DAST. So again, for this Python pip project, I'm using the darn vulnerable web app. So we'll copy that in and shortly. So the first thing I need is to include this template. So there's the DAST template. And then I'll need to set the variable for the DAST website. So this just has example.com. We're going to use dvwa, and we'll be able to set that shortly. Okay, so scrolling down. Offline environment, here we go. So we need to copy this job in. I'll do that and then we'll do some updates here. So this registry is not accurate. So for our purposes, what we need for this image is CI registry. So same as before.
When you say not accurate, you mean it's got the example URL?
It's got the example. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, thank you for that. Analyzers. And we're using not latest for DAST, we're using one. So we've already grabbed the script as well. And then we'll also need to include services here. So I think that that was, separate. I don't think that that was in this documentation. I think that's just for our specific setup. So we're using, this is WebGoat, but that's not what we're using here. We're using the darn vulnerable web app latest. And then we're going to call it darn vulnerable web app. And this just points to that image and sets it as alias that's used here for the DAST website.
And again, that's just, that services piece is just for testing purposes for this environment, and is not something that is needed in general.
In most cases, you've had that environment URL.
Right.
You wouldn't need to specify.
Yep. Yeah. Understood.
Yep. And then last up is container scanning. So as before, the first thing I'm going to do is pull in the template to make sure that we have that. Great, and for this, we're going to need a build step. So there's a pretty nice example here that I'm going to pull from. We are going to have to update some of the links to things as we have, but overall, this snippet here, it works pretty well. So I'll grab this variable. This doesn't need to change. The services, this will need to change to point to our specific Docker and Docker image. So for us, we're going to use, I'll copy this from my snippet rather than risk not typing it correctly. So we're using our CI registry in the utilities, the Docker project there that I showed earlier. They have a stable Docker and Docker image. And then we're going to need this build step. So I'll copy that in. Great, so this does not need to be updated other than this image. So, oh. Great. And I think the last thing we need to do is add the container scanning job. So if I click down here to requirements for offline scanning, there's a job here where we are essentially sending in the location of the CLAR image and the clear DB image. So I'll copy that in. And assuming I haven't, once I fix these, assuming that I haven't messed anything up, we should be good to go. So for ours, it's CI registry. We have analyzers, and ours is CLAR, and it's 2. And then for ClearDB, for ours, it's analyzer, and then ClearDB latest. And one thing that we need to add here, there's a note: if your local Docker container registry is running securely over HTTPS, but you're using a self-signed certificate, then you need to add this. So I will grab that in as well. Perfect. Let me just review my notes to make sure that I'm not missing anything. I think I've missed something for dependency scanning. Yep, so the one thing I missed is that we need to overwrite a variable to true because we have a self-signed certificate, so we don't want to have to rely on verifying it. Okay, and then additionally, to get container scanning to work, we need to add a Docker file. There's not currently one here. So I will do that quickly. And for this, again, this is referencing WebGo, but we can change this to DV. So this is setting up the DVWA, the darn vulnerable web app. Any questions before I commit and open up the merge request, get the pipeline going?
Nope.
No, pretty elaborate setup.
I learned a lot while doing this. This was great. So add CI offline config, add offline CI, start a new merge request, submit. This will take a, oh, let's see what happened. All right, let's see what I did wrong. If anyone can help me spot what I've...
I was gonna say, if you know how to, you can copy and paste it into the linting tool, right? To check it.
I've not done that. Can somebody help walk me
Yeah,
through?
sure. So if you just do it, like select all on that or copy the contents.
Let me go into the edit screen.
Yeah, and then in a new window, if you can go to, or well, no, sorry, go back to the previous one. Under CI/CD, open the pipelines in a new window.
Mm-hmm.
And then up in the upper right is CI lint.
Oh, great.
Click there and then paste, and then hit validate, and it'll give you more information, like it's telling you did not find expected
Line
key.
39.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but
Here's
the
the
error is
mistake.
almost always above where that is. Like it's sometimes it's right there, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes
I think
but that
this
actually
one is
might be
right there. Yep, because there's a...
Well, you can test it. Let's test it back in the linter. Watch.
and see if that
If you go back
fixes
to the
it.
linter, fix it in the linter, and now
Great.
you're correct. So
And
you
I
can
learned
either
something
copy and
today.
paste it from the linter back here, or you just fix it the same way back here.
Fix.
That's really cool. Kevin, do you know if this is what our customers use as well?
Yeah, no, we do this in the training that we do for our users.
Nice.
Yeah, I wish it was in a better place. You have to go to that pipeline screen, but the reason is that the linter only works for CI YAML files. So you wouldn't want it built into the web IDE because it only works for one kind of file.
Thank you for teaching me that.
That's my interpretation.
Awesome.
So here's the latest. So we're going to watch this. This build step takes a couple of minutes. Among the test steps, the license scanning is the longest one. We'll need a good number of dad jokes there. And then DAST is moderately fast. So if anyone has any jokes to fill the time or questions that I can answer.
I mean, if we run out of dad jokes, I can substitute.
There's a whole channel for that.
I was going to say, all my jokes aren't work appropriate, so I don't think I'll tell them. But
I actually have a
Just
couple of real
imagine.
questions, if that's
Yeah.
okay.
Please.
Yeah, so all right, so this is great watching you do it all kind of from scratch, but I'm assuming that obviously like in terms of building this into the normal set of 587 tests that run whenever GitLab is built, and I'm just exaggerating with that number, of course. At some point when you have a chance, I would love for you to talk a little bit about how we're going to automate this and build this in so that it occurs like automatically at some point during the testing process. But obviously that wouldn't make sense for this demo. But I'm just curious what the roadmap is for that.
Before
Yeah.
we keep going, there was a failure here for container scanning. I'm wondering if I ClareDB latest.
Maybe
Let's go.
slightly less helpful on this one.
Yeah.
than it was
It's
on the link.
basically saying the address of the repository, it couldn't find it. So I don't know whether we typoed the address of the repository or what.
Yeah. I'm wondering if I need quotes. But that's the only difference I can see in my notes. We have Docker and secure true. Clar is correct.
Yeah, you have it in double quotes.
Analyzers. That's what
Or
I
is
get
that
for
it?
typing and not pasting. So I put here analyzer instead of analyzers. This is the problem with live demos is everyone sees how bad of a typer I am the first time around. Okay. So that previous pipeline, I'm going to cancel to save the runners
Yeah, that makes sense.
and go back to this one, and hopefully that should work this time.
And just to be clear, so the build is really just building the Docker image you're going to use in a later step. It's not actually building any.
Yep, it's building the image that's used for container scanning.
Right, right. Gotcha. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Any other questions or things that I can answer?
Yeah, like I said, the only thing I can think of right now is just I'd love to know more about like what the long term like the plan is to be able to kind of have these automated so that like the way you do with the normal like right with normal testing. Although there's probably some limits on what can be done, but anyway, I was just curious.
Yeah, our plan right now is to do this testing on a weekly basis, and likely what we'll have is you know, this file, we won't rebuild it every time. It'll be built the one time, and
Sure.
and it'll just get rerun on a weekly basis to make sure that it's still working. So we have a dependency scanning failure. Let's see what happened here. Go back and look at what I might have missed there.
It says there's no files to upload in.
It looks like it's looking for the output JSON.
Strange. So let's look back and see. I have my little cheat sheet on the side. I have what was working this morning. So let's compare. So we have the template. We have disable Docker and Docker, registry analyzers. This URL is correct, and we have get SSL no verify. And this was copied straight in. I'm not clear here. I'm going to try to retry it. I don't know if that will make any difference, but let's see. In license scanning, we had an issue as well. Let's check what that is. Oh, I know what the problem here was. So I failed to, let's see. I'll close these tabs shortly so that we're not as confused. Sorry. So license compliance. Yep. So I should be using the 12.9 image here. That's my mistake. I'm sorry. So we have here CI registry, analyzers, license management. Perfect. We should be using 12.9 stable.
Yeah, don't worry about running
Yeah.
into roadblocks. And this is why we do it from a customer standpoint.
Yeah.
And it's great that we're running into this. I have a brief question. So it was latest because that's from the docs, correct?
Yes, that's what I pulled in from the docs. I can pull them back up on the other side. I didn't update it when I put in the custom location.
Got it. So would this be
So
there
here.
when our users use it, or would it be a different image? Are we actually running into a problem that our users are going to run into?
Maybe somebody from secure would answer that. I don't know if there is well, there's not a latest image, but I don't know if that's something that's usually created.
I know we're like in the middle of changing the way we do stables, but usually latest works.
It could just not exist on this offline instance.
Right, and that's my guess is that we've only uploaded 12.9 onto there, but
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, but latest should still work though in that case, right?
yeah,
Like,
I
'cause
would
latest-
think
mean,
so. Yeah.
We're running 12.9 and it has 12.9, so it should.
You'd have to go to that registry. It's no, it's in the registry itself, right?
Yeah,
it
but I
would
should be able to see it from here if I can get to the correct spot. I don't see license management in the list though.
And I don't think it's an analyzer. I think it's an actual container or image.
Yeah, each one of the analyzers has an image that it references.
Oh, I see what you're saying. There. Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
Is there a way to search here? Doesn't really matter.
Not that I know of, unfortunately.
Okay.
Oh, you're on.
You're on .com.
I would
Yeah.
just check on the air-gapped instance.
On the air-gapped instance, it's not there. That wouldn't have failed. But I'm trying to see if it's just that we didn't load it into the offline instance and it exists, so it wouldn't trip up a customer who would have preloaded this exact image. There's no stable. Oh, sorry, I'm looking for latest.
And if there's not already, we should see if there's a backlog item for search in there.
It's just to show here that it doesn't exist since we only have these two here.
I think we should take it as an action item async to make sure it's on the production instance, and then we can move on to the next steps for those. There's a group think.
Yeah, this, for some reason, dependency scanning is still not working. And I'm not exactly sure why, if anyone has any ideas. Otherwise, it does work for Java Maven. So although we would only get 4 here, we could continue and grade this lower.
So if we want to like make a list of the ones that worked versus not worked, this way we can maybe have somebody come in and look at them.
Yep, and I should be able to pretty quickly prove it in a future demo.
It did look like something in the before script failed in there where it was trying to create a directory. I know we don't necessarily need to troubleshoot it live, but just as an FYI, on line 29, I think that may be where there may be something there. But anyway.
Let's see.
No, not line 29 of the file, line 29 of the output. Like, I think that's where the issue is, because I think it goes to create that folder and then it tries to upload the artifacts and then.
I can't create it.
Yeah, I think that's where it failed, was there, but
yeah,
that we can
follow up on that.
Troubleshoot that offline.
Okay.
All right, so let me just make a real quick list. What did this just do to me? So what is good and what is not good? Let's look at the pipeline.
So the dependency scanning did not work here for step 3.
See, scanning step 3 failed, needs troubleshooting, right?
Yep.
And no other little exclamations. Nope, the rest are green. Cool.
I think the only other thing was the image name for license scanning to make sure that we have a latest so it doesn't trip up the customers.
Right.
And then that was license scanning. Are we using quote colon latest because that's what is in the docs?
Yep.
Got it.
Okay. So here, before I moved on from here, I wanted to show we're seeing licenses in this pipeline report. We can see container scanning results. We can see dash results. And see scanning won't show up because, oh, interesting. And we can see Sass as well. And once we merge it, we'll also be able to see it here. Right now, it's still empty. Nothing is showing as configured since we haven't merged that merge request.
Right.
So at this point, I was going to merge this, wait for that pipeline, and then show the results on the project level. Everyone good for me to move on? Do that? Okay.
You can squash the, never mind.
Sorry.
I was saying it's a good idea to squash those commits, but it just makes your history and master a little bit messier if you don't squash the commits, but that's okay.
Yep. So this pipeline is now running, and if anyone has any new dad jokes since the last time.
I think we never made it to dad jokes, right?
No.
Just to clarify, my jokes are inappropriate for work. I learned from like a 4-year-old, so don't go the wrong direction. I just don't feel comfortable repeating them on this call. Just a clarification.
I mean, I was just going to start reading Animal Crossing really bad puns. Like, I caught a carp.
Do.
If there's the one that I keep getting is I caught a carp. If I catch another, they can carpool. And then I caught a mackerel. And everybody else is like, we don't play Animal Crossing. We don't get this. Basically, your character, every time they catch a fish, tries to make a joke about the name of the animal. And it's cute the first 10 times. And then the 12th time, you're like, I know that you're going to make a joke about the turkey zebrafish, air, land, sea. Make up your mind. I'm like, I've heard the joke enough times.
So here, as not expected before the demo, but expected based on the previous results, the dependency scanning job failed. But the other two that are still running should pass, and Dash should pass.
You can do it, little jobs.
I know it's not really scoped to this particular demo, but for future iterations, I think a good addition down the road would be to have and to introduce an additional vulnerability for each of the scanners, and then see those in a future merge request to verify that those like show up with new vulnerabilities introduced in the merge request. I don't see why that would be different offline versus not, and you may already have tests equivalent to that in the automated testing that is part of the secure package as it is, but that would be a potential increment that you could do, just as a suggestion.
Yeah, thank you. I'll note that down.
Yeah, just to clarify, so these are things that have already been configured, but then things change, the customer adds more things, so we want to make sure that every time they run, it's correct, like the old scanners and the new ones that were added, correct?
Well, yeah, one of the features I think that's really valuable to developers and to customers is that when they do a new merge request, like in the middle of their process, they get to see how many vulnerabilities they fixed and how many they introduced, because it's doing a diff from the baseline that's on master, is my understanding of how it works. And Nicole can correct me if I'm wrong. And so instead of getting a report with like 50 or 100 or 600 vulnerabilities, they just get what changed from in their one branch. And that adds a ton of value. And just verifying that that's working is good. The only way you could do it here is to introduce vulnerabilities after this step.
And then just to be clear, we have that part of the code is exactly identical between self-hosted and
Right.
Sass,
So,
and there's been no changes to it for offline. All the changes have been in the analyzers. So I might talk to Fern about that, because we are recording a YouTube video aimed at explaining offline to customers. And so I think that might be a good thing to do there specifically.
yeah, I think that'd be a good visual, but yeah, and it may just be like an integration. So I say it's an incremental thing, not anything that, just something to think about for the future. That's all.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay. In the interest of time, I'm going to refresh this page to show now on the MR level, or sorry, at master level, we're seeing the licenses, and we're seeing results here in the pipeline for master. So container scanning, DAST, all of these are working. So I'm going to go back and show now at the project level, these are all now configured. And you can see items on the license compliance tab. The dependency list is not showing up because that job didn't work. But then here we can see, here's everything aggregated. I can click in to just show container scanning. There's a subset of items here. I can show Sass. There's a subset of items there. DAST and dependency scanning is not showing up because it's not working. And if I go back to the project, now I should also see it here. There's no licenses tab here, but you can see for all the projects, which right now is just Python pip. Here's everything. We can look at only container scanning. We can look at DAST, and the numbers on the right are changing every time here. We can look at SAST. There's only one, and then dependency scanning is not working. So that's it that I had for Python pip. Before I move on to Java Maven, we should stop to score that work.
Great progress. I think it's the first time we're seeing everything coming together. I'm going to say this should be a 3 because it's incomplete, and then we'll work on carrying things.
I totally agree with the 3
Perfect.
based on the 2 concerns.
And there is a note that the latest is there, and so it looks like it just wasn't side loaded in. So that may just have to be something that we update the prep docs for the environment to make sure that gets side loaded.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Great. So if that's a 3, I'm going to move on to do the Java Maven, which hopefully goes a little bit quicker since there are only 3, and maybe I won't fat finger anything this time. We'll see. So Java Maven, let's fork it the same way that we did the previous one into integration test 421. Ooh.
That just happens sometimes when you fork.
Okay. There's an issue for that?
I don't know, but I've seen it happen before, but usually just refresh, I think, and it'll.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
I'll check for that after the call is over. So this is it's in the integration test group. I will remove the fork relationship again. Java Maven. Great. And so to start the same way I did before, let's show the security dashboard. It's empty. Nothing is configured. So we're starting from scratch here. All right. I will start with the new file, GitLab CI. So first up is dependency scanning. We'll see if it works here. Oh, nope. First up is the check air gap job. Let me do that very quickly. This is the same job that we've used in other spots as well. Great. So dependency scanning, we'll grab the template. There are some variables that we'll need. All right, running it in an offline environment. So we need these variables. Specific settings, we'll need this for gymnasium. And we'll need to update that URL. Do that now. And I grabbed this SSL no verify that we needed. And then for Java Maven projects, we will need this. There's the job with the special things that we need for Java Maven projects. And I think that should be it for dependency scanning. We'll see if that works this time around. Next up is license compliance. So I'll grab the template first.
As a side note, I am so excited with 13.0. The remaining places where we say license management should finally go away.
Okay, so in this case, we're using private Maven repos. So I think we'll need to pull this in. Okay. And then this should be the image that we need. Okay, and so I'm sorry, I made a mistake here for dependency scanning. I didn't update that. So our location is CI registry analyzers. That's the same as what we did for the Python pip. Here for license scanning, we'll need to update this. So let me grab that. I'll take the whole thing in so that way we have the 12.9 stable this time instead of the latest. And I think that should be all that we need for license compliance. We'll see if that holds true. Container scanning. So as usual, first thing is a template. Next thing we're going to use this again to pull in all of these variables and from the snippet here. So we need this Docker driver. We'll need the services. And in this case, we'll replace that with a link to ours. So in our case, it's CI registry, the utils, Docker stable, Docker, and Docker. I'll grab this build job. And we'll need to change this image. So for us, that should be the same as this one, but ends with stable. Okay. And then for running it in an offline environment, we need to specify the Clar and Claire images. So I will copy that in. And for us, here's where Clar is. CI registry analyzers, Clar 2, and our Claire, we're using latest for that one. So our location is here, CI registry analyzers, ClareDB. And then same as before, we need to follow this note. We must set Docker and secure true in this container scanning job. And the last thing we need for container scanning is to add a Docker file. So this time around, we'll use WebGoat rather than the DVWA, just to get a different set of results in. And let's see how that goes. Create a merge request. And so again here, I don't have Sass or Dask because I wasn't able to get those fully set up here in time for the demo. But the other 3 scanners should hopefully work. We'll see if dependency scanning works here, where it didn't in Python pip. Are there any questions specific to Java Maven that I can answer while we wait for the pipeline? Okay.
I want to give a kudos that we are following the steps from the production documentation. So we are going in the footsteps as a user. Kudos to that. And for using issues as well for your demo steps. Awesome.
So for anyone following along, we are at step 4, number 4. We're just watching this until it passes.
If Olivia were here, he's going to say the gymnasium job is going to finish first because we made it faster. That's my dad joke contribution for the day.
So from the Super Mario Brothers, what sort of pants does Mario wear? Denim, denim, denim.
Ah!
That's my joke.
Okay, I like that one. That was good.
I sort of, so my husband was playing the Indiana Jones like 8-bit video game from like the 1990s and still could remember by muscle memory how to beat all the puzzles. And that's how I feel about Super Mario. Like, you put me down, I have my original NES, it still works. You put me down, the music starts playing, I could be not paying attention and just do. Apparently container scanning for the win, and then check air gap.
Usually the check air gap is faster. I'm not sure why it's crawling today.
Magic.
Mm-hmm. This looks like it's more successful than the other dependency scanning for Python pip, so that's great. After the call, I'll try to compare the two and see what the deal was with Python pip.
This is where we should be telling people watching the video that they can play it at, they can increase the speed of playback on YouTube.
Yes. Wait, does anyone not automatically put all YouTube videos on 2x speed?
I don't put Nyan Cat on 2x speed. I just enjoy it the way it was meant to be watched.
I actually, so the one from, so I was off on Friday, and the one from Friday, I was trying to watch it at like 2x speed, but sorry, Olivia and Philippe, they were going back and forth on one thing, and I was like, all right, I gotta slow this down. I cannot understand what they're saying. They talk so fast, whereas like Mo is so slow that even at double speed, it sounds like he's talking normal.
Because the gymnasium team is so fast, we have to play it slower.
Yeah, like my audiobook reader and everything is always set to like double speed. And if there was a faster setting, I feel like I could finish more books. Oh, it failed.
It failed, so I'll figure out what's going on with these dependency scanning issues. It wasn't happening earlier today, so hopefully it's something clear.
This meeting's gonna end, you're gonna rerun it, they're gonna work.
And it's gonna work, yeah. That's fine. Just have to go through another demo with me. All right. I'm just waiting for license scanning. It's almost done.
So is the idea that like the next step for this would be, instead of building the pipelines from scratch, like you would have them stored as test files that you would pull in and use?
I think that would be a great. I mean, you've seen me going through the documentation and building. I think the only trip up was the latest, which we could just show the docs fixed on that. Yeah, but I'll leave that up to the powers that be. I think it would be a lot faster.
Yeah, no, I was just kind of asking out of curiosity, because the last time I like worked in a quality group, like was not as sophisticated as what we do here at GitLab. So.
Okay, so license scanning. Oh, sorry, Mike.
I was going to say that we plan to do that two ways. So one is the long-term regression automation that Tanya and team are leading.
Right.
I think this is good feedback to the next time we do demos, where we probably want to separate out into like setup. If setup is great, then we can just jump on to the next steps and have that automated. So you don't have to like run through setup again. Just jump through running the pipeline.
Right.
So
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. For next iterations. Thank you. Back to you, Tanya.
Yep. So here for licenses, we're showing one for security. So container scanning is set up. We're getting results. DAS is not set up. And dependency scanning is not working. So those aren't, there's nothing showing up there, and there shouldn't be anything else for DAS as well. So if there aren't any objections, I'm going to merge this so that we can get the master pipeline going, and then hopefully we can see it in the group level. Any objections? Okay. Great, so here's that pipeline. And we should, I think, immediately be able to see that these are configured. Yep, so Sass and DAS are not yet configured, the other three are, but there are no results yet until the pipeline completes.
What's the future of that configure page gonna be? I'm just curious. Like, I don't know, maybe it's a Nicole question, but.
What do you mean the future of the configure page?
Well, like, oh, I guess it has the more information links already. I was just thinking, I don't know. I was thinking like if it was not yet configured that there would be a link there or something like that to show you how to configure it or something. But I guess the more information.
We've got some mocks for, the problem is DAST and container scanning are a little persnickety, but we do have some mocks to maybe make it a little bit easier to give you like a copyable snippet for the other ones. Unfortunately, right now, this right here is my top priority. And then following this, I'm working on some dependency scanning stuff. So that has not bubbled up high enough for me to add the copy snippet.
I was just curious, like with the long term, but that's okay.
I dropped a link in there to an issue where we had some discussion on this from various different scanners angles too, if you want to read that and get some more of the historical context.
Got it, thanks.
And we expect the gymnasium job to be in the same state as the branch status, correct?
Yep, failed but allowed to fail. License scanning should pass though. That one is the longest running job. It's great. Should be done soon. And I know we're putting up a time allocated for the demo. As soon as this is done, I should be able to show pretty quickly the project level dashboard here, and then the group level that has both projects integrated together. Should be able to wrap up on time, assuming this license scanning job hurries up.
I don't know who the host is, but I can hang for a couple minutes if that's
I was just gonna say, I think Sam, Kerr, and I would have to drop because we have another meeting, but people who could stay around could just stay for the last minute or two, just so we wrap it up.
Someone who's not muted has like a ticking clock in their background. Does anyone else hear that, or is that just me?
Sorry, that's me.
I think that was Todd's pulse beating to the please let this one be all fives. Please let this one be all fives.
I miss my clock. When I moved from the US to Canada, it was going to be like extra money and all sorts of baloney to get my grandfather clocks moved, and my husband was also freaking about like where in the house are we going to put it. So I don't have my clock. There is no tick ticks in my house.
It's a comforting background noise.
My grandfather collected grandfather clocks, and at the time he died, he had over 60. So everybody in the family got one.
Yeah, I don't even hear it anymore. So,
yeah, I used to live with my grandparents because my parents died when I was little, and I grew up with 60 clocks going, and I couldn't hear it, and people would come over and they would be like, ah!
must have been interesting at 12 o'clock.
I can actually still sing the song. You could tell the order in which he wound all the clocks. And so they all started slightly off from one another. It was fabulous. It lasted like 10 minutes.
All right.
Okay, so job succeeded. Let me quickly show the pipeline licenses, pipeline security tab. We should be able to see container scanning. There will be nothing for DAST. Dependency scanning, nothing. And Sass, nothing. Perfect. So coming here, I already showed the configuration that these three are configured. We're seeing licenses unknown. A dependency list is not working. And then on the security dashboard, we're seeing these aggregated. So container scanning, dependency scanning is not working. So unfortunately, all of these are container scanning that equals.
Is that at the project level?
This is at the project level.
Right, and then
so
if you go to the group.
Going to the group level security. So note these numbers here on the side. If I click only Java Maven, those go down. If I click pip, they change. And then I can click all projects and click into container scanning. See the sum here. If I only want to see Java Maven container scanning, I can do that. Dependency scanning doesn't work. Sass, unfortunately, is only working for Python pip. And yeah, that was it. Oop.
Cool. It's great stuff for first time integration of everything. I think it's great progress.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Great stuff.
Before we log off, could we grade the Java Maven? Is that also a 3 because we haven't configured everything?
I believe so, and I'll let Nicole do the honors here. I think we need to follow up on both. What does the group think?
Yeah, 3 is fine.
Yeah, I agree.
And for the next demo, I should plan on having all 5 work across these 2. And is that adequate to prove that everything is integrated together correctly? Across projects and cross analyzers within projects?
Yeah, I'm definitely good with that.
Okay. And then before we go, here's the chart.
All right.
Yeah, we had 4 overall. Awesome.
All right. Thanks, Tanya. Great work. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.